All right, so I'm here with the creator, founder, brain behind the MakeWODsGreatAgain popular meme account. You have over 350,000 followers.
Yeah, about that, yeah.
This is John Woolley. I don't know if everybody here knows exactly how you came up with kind of this comedy, this meme, this sort of cultural discussion that you're doing on Instagram. What was some of the genesis for that, and why did you start getting into it?
I don't know if I know how I came up with it, if I'm being honest. I had a Twitter feed, so I trained with the Panchecks, and I had this Twitter feed that I was using to troll the twins, right? So Saxon and Spencer. And they didn't even know it was me. And I thought it would be funny, like right after the presidential election, to do a Twitter feed in the kind of in the theme of Trump. So I called it CrossFit Trump. And I was just doing these bombastic tweets, saying horrible things. And it was moderately funny, you know. But my oldest daughter, who thinks I'm funny, she's like, Daddy, that's cool, but you need an Instagram. You know, like a meme page would be better. You should do that. And so I'm like, all right. So I hand her my phone, and she created the meme page. And we named it CrossFit Trump. And I didn't really think anything of it. I wasn't intending to create this, right? I just like, it'd be fun. Well, fast forward to regionals, rest in peace. And they did the update show with Caleb Banfield, did a hashtag contest, hashtag the update show, and they'll post your meme and tweet and whatever. And you know, I pay attention to the details, so I knew she was with James Newberry, or is with James Newberry. And so I created this James Newberry meme, and she posted it on, you know, the regionals update show. Well, I like grabbed my phone after I saw it happen, and it's like being a Kardashian. You just watch the follower count climb. And the light bulb went off. I'm like, man, if I can...
Maybe I stumbled onto something here.
I was like, if I can connect with people, maybe I can start growing. And so then I started, you know, my daughter was like, well, you got to hashtag the athlete, or you got to tag the athlete. So I started tagging athletes. And like Rich Froning commented on one, and I got shared by Craig Ritchie on Team Ritchie. And like once I figured out that A, people thought it was funny, and B, if I could start connecting and building relationships with those people, I could build it out. It was kind of off to the races, and it quickly went from, you know, 300 to 600 followers to 10,000 followers in a month.
So, all right, so you started it as CrossFit Trump.
Right.
And when did you decide to change it to, and it's sort of still keeping within the theme.
Right.
You know, nobody needs to know the translation here, but yeah. Where did you decide, and kind of why did you rebrand that?
Well, I'm not a political guy. Like I wasn't a Trump supporter, you know, but I also didn't want to offend Trump supporters. Like, you know, I wasn't taking a position either way, but I was like, what I didn't want to do was draw in a bunch of only Trump supporters. I wanted to be part of the community. So I'm like, all right, you know, what is a brand that's representative of our community? Like, what's a word that every CrossFitter knows?
WOD.
And it's WOD, right? And I wanted to like kind of stay with the theme of CrossFit Trump. And for me, the
cultural meme in and of itself, like Make America Great, is to make lots of things great again. It's like, it's a meme in and of itself.
Yeah, well, that was kind of the point. It's like, you can't make WODs great again. They've never been great. They all suck, you know? And so that was kind of the joke, you know? And so I changed, and I thought, all right, it was kind of wordy. People are going to be pissed I changed it. They'll just quit following. And the opposite happened. It just went gangbusters.
So, all right, let's talk a little bit about your background. Like, you know, if you're behind the internet, I'm myself, and I'm not always like on camera or forward facing. I'm usually like typing, and we write a lot. We don't do a lot of videos and visuals. We do some. So a lot of people don't really know what I look like. A lot of people probably don't know what you look like, but you're not the face that many would assume is behind some of these memes. What are some of the reactions that you get when people see you? You're a little more visible now, but in the earlier days, be like, "Oh, hi, I'm John Woolley. I've been making you laugh on the internet for the last year and a half."
You get so many different reactions. I was walking through here the other day, and some lady stopped me. She's like, "Wow, you're way fitter than I thought you would be." I'm like, "Thanks, I guess it's a compliment." You know, people have all these preconceived notions. Some people think you're just some 18-year-old kid living in your mom's basement, rattling off memes. People have their perception of what the page is on their own anyway, so some people think you're probably just this mean, sarcastic guy. You know,
really cynical.
Yeah.
Hates the assault bike.
Yeah, exactly. The people that really follow the page and know who I am understand, like, I'm part of the community.
Yeah.
You know, and so I don't think they're really surprised when they meet me. but it can be weird. I mean, I'll be honest, it's a little weird.
Fair enough. But what's your background? Like, what do you? Okay, so this is not your full-time job. Right. You're not living with your mom, and and you have kids, you have a family, you have a career. What do you do on a regular basis?
Well, I'm a regional vice president for a bank.
Okay.
So I've managed 17 locations on the east side of Cleveland, got 100 employees, it's $1 billion under assets. I mean, it's a real job. So I'm good at multitasking, obviously. I've always had a creative streak though. I was a musician in college. I went to college to be a musician. And so I think I've always kind of had like kind of that in me to want to create and to kind of do things like that. But I've also had this thing in me where I like to pay my bills.
Oh yeah.
And so having a real job that gives me a steady paycheck does that. And I'm not going to make the meme millions I joke about all the time. Right. So.
Okay. So you've had this page now that is kind of at this nexus culturally and comedically at CrossFit. You like to poke fun at a lot of the same things that we like to poke fun of, just inside of CrossFit, and it gets people to laugh. But also, if you're a CrossFitter, this is the perfect sort of way of engaging you, because we all make these jokes ourselves and they're funny and they're on point. Where do you want to take something like this now that you have such a significant following? 325,000, 50,000 followers is monstrous, and this meteoric growth over the last couple of years. What do you hope to do with something like that? Or is it just you want to make people laugh and give them joy?
Well, there are a lot of things. So, I've got the podcast. So we have a podcast that goes with the page, MakeWODsGreatAgain. We're actually going to have a name change. I'm not going to tell you what it is here, but that's coming very soon. So we're getting that away from kind of the veiled Trump reference. I've got a couple other podcasts that are coming, so I'll have 3 when it's all said and done. And that's a good vehicle for me because it allows me to really talk to people and be a real part of the community. But the page itself, I just want to continue to grow it. And to me, it isn't just about making people laugh. Like, the beauty of memes is you can say things that others don't have the ability to say, or you can spotlight issues that others maybe can't spotlight because it's too harsh a thing for them to go at. And I can do it in a way that's satirical or funny and make people think, oh, maybe I should look at this issue within the CrossFit community. Like a good example of that would be athlete pay, right? Like, that's a touchy topic for athletes. An athlete can't really bring that up because they're worried about sponsors, they're worried about CrossFit HQ, they're worried about a lot of different things. No one owns me, right? So I can say, hey, maybe we should look at this in a way that isn't, hey, CrossFit, you suck, or hey, athletes, you're asking for too much money. Like, I can bring up the topic and then let people discuss it and make it interesting, and that's fun for me to be able to strike up conversation, and there are hundreds of topics like that, whether there's, hardcore social issues or just the fact that we all hate the assault bike, We
can kind of rally around that. We can laugh, but also have a serious discussion sometimes.
Yeah, for me, it's all about relatability. Like, for me, the beauty of the page is the things that happen to me happen to you. They happen to everyone that walk into a gym, and those are the things that bring us together. And if I have one wish for the page as it continues to grow, knock on wood, is that it brings people together and doesn't separate them. Like, that's really my wish, is that people will understand that what I'm trying to do is foster conversation and have fun. And bring joy to people's lives.
Comedy is a uniting force, right? And people, I think, they can look at something and say that's pretty funny, and they can laugh together regardless of what they think about maybe something else. And now you're no stranger to controversy, obviously. I mean, you have authored your fair share of posts that have raised some eyebrows, but that's, in meme and in comedy, sometimes you do push the envelope. You have an edginess to it, and that's part of being in comedy, and I think a lot of people understand that. But I'm curious, as a creator, and I've felt this way myself, when you sort of realize maybe you've gone beyond the line, like, what was some of your, when that happened for the first time, what was your internal reaction as you're like looking at this happening and you're like, oh shoot, what happened? What did I do?
Yeah. I've had a couple of moments, most notably with athletes. When they happen with an athlete, I take a hard step back because I never want to offend an athlete. They work way too hard to have somebody picking on them, right? And there is a fine line with what you find funny and what someone else finds offensive. And so, in regards to athletes, I'm really, really careful about what I say and do. I have too much respect for them to make fun of them. when it comes to the social issues, you kind of have to push the envelope, and as a creator realize that you're not creating for the masses, you're creating for yourself, and if they want to follow along, great. If they don't, sorry about your luck, right? Because what I find offensive, you may not find offensive at all. I'm just trying to strike conversation and topics, but I have had moments. I had one with a very notable gym once that put in an apparel policy, and I shouted it out to the world without looking to see who owned the gym, and it was a very popular CrossFitter.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, you remember. And yeah, and you know, like I was the one that kind of blew that up, and then all of a sudden I stepped back and I'm like, what just happened? Like, I should have maybe done my research. Had it to do it over, I probably would have not addressed the topic. So I don't know, like I kind of pick and choose my battles these days. It's just, you don't want to make the world mad, but you also don't want to shy away from the things that are important. And there are important topics that need to be talked about because our gyms are very diverse, and there are real issues going on out there that we need to make sure are talked about. It's not just lifting weights every day, you know? So, I don't know, you just have to put a lot of thought into it.
Well, you obviously have to build up a lot of thick skin too. If you're going to be doing anything in the public, even the athletes have a lot thicker skin as a result of just seeing comments and just reading that echo chamber inside of social media. It can be very toxic, very volatile sometimes. And obviously, if you're going to press on comedy and, you know, and get sometimes a little punchy with your pieces, I'm sure sometimes the comments do get a little bit out of control. And, you know, you develop a lot of thick skin, and what I'm kind of alluding to, or at least moving into, is you know, most recently you were sort of blocked by Dave Castro, CrossFit's favorite villain, and I'm curious, you know, not so much addressing that situation in general, but I'm sort of curious, like, what does that say about CrossFit as an organization that its head of the sport, like, blocks media?
Well, I'm not media, so I don't...
Well, yeah, well, you got one of these media passes just like me, so... But you're media in its a different way. You're still telling stories. You're still highlighting CrossFit. You're rallying CrossFitters, unifying CrossFitters around comedy and things that we love and things that we like. Again, every CrossFitter loves to hate, which is the assault bike. It works, but we hate it. And I think there's a unifying aspect to your comedy that brings people together in a fun way that's culturally relevant. That you are still media, even if you're not a print journalist.
Look, it's weird. You know, I'll say right up front, like, I love Dave. I think he's a terrific programmer. He clearly loves the sport. He loves athletes. I think he puts a lot of thought into what he does. I've said that all along. Like, I'm not sucking up to the guy.
Yeah.
He has notoriously thin skin. I think everyone knows that. So I think it's weird to go out of his way to block me because he doesn't follow me. So it just feels odd. Like, I don't feel like I have super thick skin. I just don't take offense to this because I think anyone has the right to follow, not follow, block, not block. Like, if you don't want to follow somebody, that's fine. It doesn't bother me. As an organization, I think they need to decide how it speaks for them. It's not for me to say necessarily. But it feels weird to, if you're a director of a sport, to block off a pretty significant portion of the community. So I think the risk is for them, not to me, I guess is maybe the best way to put it. But you know, I'm not the first person that's happened to, and our community is unique in the way it's structured. Like, Dave has a very unique position. I'm not sure I agree with the way it's handled necessarily, but that's their right to do so. It's their business, so it doesn't bother me. And to be honest, like, I've planned for this moment for 3 years now. Like, I kind of know how this business is run, or how they run their business and how they feel about things, and I figured at some point somebody notable would block me, and you know, I'm going to take advantage of that situation in a positive light. Like, I raised money from that, and you know, sold shirts, you know, making fun of the situation. And
then donated those profits.
And donated the profits to a veterans charity. Yeah. You know, knowing that he's a veteran. You know, like, I wanted to kind of give honor to him for doing it. You know, and I've seen some of the shirts running around here today, by the way, which is awesome. So, you know, it is what it is. You know, the community's far bigger than one guy, him or me or anyone else, so it doesn't bother me.
All right, well, John, thank you so much for joining me. This is always good catching up. If you're not following MakeWODsGreatAgain, follow him on Instagram. You got any other places where they can touch base with you?
It's on Instagram and Facebook, Twitter, and then MakeWODsGreatAgain is on, you know, all your podcast channels, so they're all out there.
Awesome. Thanks again, man.
All right, thanks.